Can the West Virginia Mountaineers rebound from their two consecutive blowout losses to start Big 12 play? They will have to do it on the road on a short week in a very hostile environment in Provo, Utah. We're here to break this game down with a very special guest, and we're going to do it on episode number 45 of the Golden Blue Breakdown Show, and we're going to do it right now. What is up, and welcome into this episode of Couz's Corner, which is episode 45 of the Golden Blue Breakdown Show. And even though Jonathan is away this week enjoying some family time, I have decided to go ahead and bring on a very special guest for this week's episode of the Golden Blue Breakdown Show. So we're bringing on Tyler from the Coal Country Podcast. What's up, Tyler? How you doing, man?
I'm pretty good, Couz. What's going on? Thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be on your show. Waiting for some more Mountaineer football.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, man. I think we all are, man. I think we're all ready to get the sour taste out of our mouth from what happened really the past 2 weeks. But I'll be honest with you, it's going to be, without giving too much away about the end, we'll do our score predictions later, but might be a tough one this week to do that. Real quick, before we dive into the content of the show, go ahead and let my listeners and viewers know where they can find you and your work.
Yeah, I do a podcast with two other guys, and then we have guests on occasionally. On YouTube, it's called Coal Country Podcast, the Coal Country Podcast. We talk West Virginia football and West Virginia basketball, and then we dip into Big 12 and overall college football as well a little bit, talk playoff, realignment, and that kind of thing. We're mostly active on YouTube and then X at Coal Country WVU. But we also have a Spotify and Facebook if you want to go follow us over there. But we have a lot of fun doing it. We can take a lot of inspiration from you, Couz. And like I said, I'm happy to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, man. Yeah, everybody go check out Tyler and his colleagues over there at Coal Country Podcast. Let's go ahead, before we dive into, our normal topics, which is, keys to the game and those types of things. Let's go ahead and I want to get your thoughts on this quarterback situation. Obviously, Nicco is getting apparently multiple opinions now, according to Coach Rod, on his foot. Do you ever think Nicco Marchiol will suit up again in a Mountaineer uniform? In your gut feeling opinion?
It's tricky to say. It does seem a little. The situation seems a little odd. Supposedly he had been banged up a little bit while playing, and then all of a sudden, before Kansas was unable to go, or before Utah was unable to go, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah. And so he goes out to Colorado, and now he's in Arizona, and Rod's is saying he's out for a couple weeks. My gut feeling is saying no, for a couple of reasons. One, I just don't know. It feels like one of those situations of, okay, he was banged up and he was trying to see what the team was going to be capable of doing. The year didn't start as well as he had thought. And so then he's going to, kind of heal up. Four games is the red shirt minimum. And so the situation just kind of feels a little odd.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, my gut feeling says no, but at the same time, he's been loyal to West Virginia thus far.
Yep.
And so I wouldn't be surprised at the same time. It's really a 50-50 at this point.
Yeah. It's one situation, I'll be honest, and I kind of agree with you. My gut tells me that he won't. But I'll be honest with you. I would not have any ill will towards Nicco if that's the decision he makes. Because, yes, it's a team sport. Yes, you want to do what's best for your team, but it's also a business. And Nicco's getting on the back end of his college career, man, and he's got to make some decisions. I'm sure he has goals and aspirations of playing at the next level. And in his mind, he may not be able to do that at West Virginia. Maybe he doesn't feel Rich Rod's system is the fit for him that he thought it was, in the beginning. Maybe he sees the struggles they're having offensively and knows that it's going to hurt his chances of getting drafted or earning more NIL money next year, whatever his goals are, right? And he just feels like it's time. He's been unselfish for the first 3 to 4 years of his college career. Maybe he feels like it's time for him to look out for himself for once. And, it would be really in this day and age, in this environment of college sports, it would really be hard to argue with that. Even though I typically am more of an old school guy who appreciates loyalty, um, I think you got to look at the situation. We heard Rich Rod's comments today in his press conference about how he would, or I guess it was on his radio show actually, where he talked about he would like to see Nicco's doctors and the team doctors all be on the same page. That makes things seem a little bit weird to me.
Yeah.
I hope the whole thing's done with full transparency and done on the up and up, and everybody's on the same page and everybody can move on in good terms and it ends well. And if it does end at all, I mean, heck, it may not. Like you said, maybe Nicco's not finished at West Virginia. I don't know. But anyway, I just want to get your thoughts on that. And who do you think Rich Rod runs out there to be the starting quarterback on Friday night against BYU?
After listening to his presser today, it kind of sounded like Khalil was getting the start. Despite the Utah being on their second string that late in the game, they had kind of already blown the game open. So Khalil wasn't seeing the full force of Utah's defense. He did provide a little bit of a spark for the offense. And then obviously you have to consider that he did mention Henderson and Max Brown were both a little dinged up after the Utah game. So my gut says Khalil. As for who I would want to see, I'm gonna say Khalil. I thought we should see Henderson against Utah and Kansas because I felt against Kansas late in game he did provide a little bit of spark with his run game, but then he obviously comes in against Utah, has a really rough game, and then the same can be said for Khalil. So it's tricky to say. As of right now, my gut says Khalil starts, and that's who I would start as well.
Yeah, the fan in me wants Khalil to start, but the analyst side of me and the former football player in me, which I never played at that level, but I did play high school ball, tells me that I feel like it's probably not the best situation to throw him in there in the very first start in that environment in Provo on the road at 10:30. I mean, it's just a very tough spot to be in when your offense has already been struggling. A lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure for a redshirt freshman, 19-year-old, to be under. And no offense, I know you're not much older than 19 yourself. So
I don't know if I'd want to be behind that.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, you get it. But no, I think it's just a tough situation. But I also trust Rich Rod to do the right thing. And I do, Khalil showed quite a bit of poise the other night when he was in the game. He didn't look like the moment was too big for him. So, maybe it's his time. Maybe it's time for him to shine and take the reins of this offense. We'll definitely see on Friday night. I'll be excited if he runs out there, honestly, just because it's new, it's exciting. I know I feel like he has a shot to be the future of the program. But it will also be a little nerve-wracking because I'll be like, every time he goes back to throw a pass, I'm going to be I hope he makes the right decision, So it'll be interesting. All right, let's go ahead and dive into this game. First off, it's going to air on ESPN, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time on Friday night. So, West Virginia has a chance, along with BYU, to be there might be other games on, but not very many. So they get a chance to be the center of attention, so to speak, on a Friday night. So let's hope the Mountaineers don't lay an egg. But let's go ahead and dive in. The first thing we always do on the show, Tyler, is talk about our three keys to the game for the Mountaineers to get a W. What's your first key to this game for the West Virginia?
My first one is can the West Virginia offense start out fast? Through the first half of all 5 games, including Robert Morris, West Virginia's been outscored 71-27. And you could really see that in the start of conference play as well. They've only scored 3 points in the first half of both conference game, and that was against Kansas. So you're going on the road, like you said, to a hostile environment in Provo. I still am of the opinion that Lavelle Edwards is one of the most underrated places to play in college football entirely. And so if you get behind early, like West Virginia has done, I don't know if you can crawl yourself out of that hole. And so I think you need to find a way to start fast. It's going to be difficult, especially with how the offense has been playing. But maybe if you do end up seeing Khalil out there, can he provide a spark? Does he hit a early deep ball to Cam Vaughn? Can you try to find something to spark the offense and get the game going?
Mm-hmm. I like it. And I actually heard a couple guys in the West Virginia media asking Coach Rod about this today, and that is the 2 games that West Virginia has won, because I didn't realize this. I really didn't pay much attention to it. Both games that they have won, they've scored on their opening drive. The
I
games
didn't know that.
the games they have lost, they did not. So, again, it's somewhat of a small sample size, but so yeah, that starting fast, I think there's something to that, especially when you run the high paced, hurry up offense that Rich Rod likes to run. I think scoring quickly helps you get into a rhythm and gets the momentum on your side and can kind of potentially put the defense on their heels a little bit, right? Maybe even change the way they call the game on the defense side of the ball. My first key is similar to that one, I guess, but it's not exact, but it's have success on first down. West Virginia is one of the worst teams in the country on third down offense, getting off the field on third down. Or I'm sorry, not getting off the field, but staying on the field on offense on third down. And one of the reasons for that is they struggle to get any yardage on first and second down, and they get stuck in second and 10, third and 10, third and 8, third and long situations. And if they can avoid that, then again, helps them get into that high pace, hurry up offense, puts the defense on their heels. They get into a rhythm. So if they can have success on first down, which means they're going to need to run the football well, in my opinion, because first down is normally running down. Run the football well, have success on first down, and try to get that offense into a rhythm, and hopefully put the BYU defense a little bit on their toes. And I think that's going to be key to this game.
That was actually one I had written down as well. Not first down, but the third down.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a key to the game, but a side note that I did have
Right.
was that West Virginia had
Yeah.
a really rough third down conversion rate.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the worst in the country right now. And by the way, I don't know how often you watch the Golden Blue Breakdown show, but Jonathan and I often do have things that overlap because we don't discuss these beforehand. So it's perfectly okay if we have the same answer. What is your second key?
This one is kind of dependent on who the quarterback is come Friday. My gut, like I said, is that Khalil will get the start, especially after today. And that was, can Khalil handle the atmosphere? It's going to be a tough place to play. So you're going to need to settle him down, try to get some quick throws. We haven't really thrown the ball a whole lot. There was only 13 pass attempts the entire game against Utah. So if you're going to get him to pass the ball, I think you need to try just the short stuff, try to get him into a rhythm on the road. If he can provide a spark for the offense, I think a lot of that's going to come from the run option game. One thing I'll commend Khalil on was when Nicco was in the game, it felt like he was scared to pull it or was hesitant to pull the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But then when Henderson was in the game, it always felt like he was hesitant to hand it off. Henderson always wanted to keep it. I felt Khalil did
or even to throw it down the field. He didn't want to throw it down the field either.
Yeah, I felt Khalil did a decent job of not making the decision before the ball was snapped, so to speak. He was, like you said, poised, made the decisions as the play was happening, and continued to show the poise throughout in his limited amount of snaps. But the one play that I thought stood out was the end around to Gerard Bowie. That was one where he made the read and
Mm-hmm.
pitched it off to Gerard Bowie, and I
Yeah.
thought that he showed tremendous ability to be able to make reads in those kind of situations. And so, can he still do that on the road when you're going to? This is really, like Rich Rod said in his presser today, this is going to be the real first crowd test for West Virginia. Ohio was a sold out game, but it was also 40, 60, 50, 50 West Virginia fans for Ohio. Kansas was a sold out game, but I think BYU is a
Different
step
level.
above
Yep.
of those two. So
Agreed.
it can Khalil, if it is Khalil, handle that kind of pressure in that kind of atmosphere.
Yep. I like it. I had actually written down, a lot of times I'll write down actually more than what we have to talk about. That was actually one of the ones I had written down but decided not to cover, so I'm glad you did. My second key is on the defensive side of the ball, they have got to tackle better, man. They had Pro Football Focus had them as 24 missed tackles. I think Coach Alley today said they had 34 missed tackles. I'm sure he probably grades on a harder scale. And you can't do that, man. And, I was looking. LJ Martin is a very good running back for BYU. He's averaging 7.3 yards per attempt running the football. 5.24 of those yards are after contact. He's 36th in the country in missed tackles forced, which is pretty good. There's a lot of running backs in college football, and he's 36th. He will make you miss, and he can run through tackles. He's a strong back, hard runner, and they have got to wrap him up. They've got to get, and not just him, but I think he's the one that's going to be the hardest one to do that with. But the defense has got to tackle better, man. They've got to stop running out of control by guys. They've got to break down, just use proper tackling technique, man. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy to do. I get it. But use proper tackling technique. Don't run up out of control and you got to get him on the ground. Because if you let him run through your tackles, it'll be a long night.
Yep. That actually it kind of ties into my third point, which is pretty vague. I didn't know where to go because when you've got a team that's struggling the way West Virginia is struggling, there's a lot of keys to the game. You kind of need to go back to the basics.
Yeah.
So
there is. I had a bunch of. I had several wrote down.
So what I have written down exactly is how will the defense respond? And there's two subplots to that. One of them was the tackling. I have the 24 missed tackles written down against Utah. I know it's been an insane number up to this point, but up until about halfway through the Kansas game, the defense was still the strong point despite missing some tackles. And then you watch the second half of Kansas and you watch the full game of Utah, and it looked like a completely different defense. And so the tackling needs to be better. And then the other subplot I have of how will the defense respond is, can they force turnovers? Bear Bachmeier has only been sacked 4 times. He hasn't been under a ton of pressure, and he has shown tremendous poise for a freshman quarterback.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Has not thrown an interception. He's throwing just under 70% completion percentage. And so are you able to get some pressure on Bachmeier? Are you able to force him into an interception or two? Something I have written down is, how will Zach Alley manage the defense? Because Bear Bachmeier's been getting the ball out quick. He's not been holding on to it. Do you bring pressure, or do you try to clog the passing lanes? If he's getting it out quick, which is similar to what Devin Dampier tried to do, although Devin Dampier was just kind of able to sit in the pocket and
do whatever he wanted to do.
Whatever he wanted to do.
It's a lot easier when you have an NFL offensive line in front of you, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot easier. But it felt like we brought a little less pressure against Utah because he was trying to clog the passing lane. So do you go that same route and try to force Bachmeier into an interception, or do you try to force pressure, get a freshman quarterback make mistakes because he sees some guy in his face?
I like it, man. I like it. My third key is you can't beat yourself. You cannot have stupid pre-snap penalties. You cannot turn the ball over. You can't have targeting penalties and unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. Fred Perry. You can't do it. BYU is too good of a football team and too disciplined of a football team to do that against. And secondly, West Virginia, Rich Rod's even said this himself, we're not good enough to, our margin for error is extremely, extremely thin. It's almost zero, basically. And when you have, pre-snap penalties cost him 2 touchdowns in that game the other night, or the other day. So or penalties as a whole. I know one was a pre-snap penalty. It was the false start penalty on Grayson Barnes, cost himself a touchdown. You cannot have that in these games, man. You've got to. You can't beat yourself, because it's going to be hard enough to win the game anyway, especially when the team is likely more talented than you are on paper anyway. So you can't beat yourself. You've got to be disciplined and do the things, the key things, the basic stuff, right? Don't jump off sides. Don't have a false start. Don't get delay of games. Don't hit people after the whistle. This stuff that should be simple, but it's not always simple. They've got to do that. And of course, you can't turn it over. as part of that as well. Because you can, again, BYU is going to be hard enough to win anyway. If you beat yourself, it's just going to make it that much easier for them.
Yep, you hit it spot on.
So, anyway, all right. Before we get over to the next segment, which is 2 position battles to watch, I'm going to give a quick shout out to our sponsors here. We'll be right back. Your season, your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown scorer to anytime TD props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, score over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code COUZ. That's code COUZ to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet. Plus, over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer. All right. Thank you for getting us through that, letting us get through the housekeeping, and thanks to DraftKings for supporting the show. Let's go ahead and jump into the second segment, which is, Tyler, 2 key position battles to watch for the Mountaineers that the Mountaineers need to win in order to have a chance in this game. What's your first one?
The front 7 versus LJ Martin. So the run game more specifically, but LJ Martin basically is their run game. Like you mentioned, they've struggled tackling, and LJ Martin is one of the best in the country at breaking tackles. Like you said, he's averaging 5 yards per carry after contact. That's after contact. 5 yards per carry is pretty good yards per carry
Exactly.
without contact. So West Virginia's kind of struggled in run defense, and so you're going to have to find a way to stop LJ Martin from getting to the second and third levels and tackle well. You got to wrap. You got to have good form tackling. You cannot give up another 240 plus yard day on the ground for BYU, or they will just tear you up all day long.
Yep. Well said, man. Well said. My first one, I actually had that written down, but then I realized I was covering it up the top, so but anyway, again, there could be 100 of these, right? When a team's struggling like this. My number one position battle is, maybe it's a cop-out because it's just special teams, man. West Virginia special teams has been struggling the last couple of games, especially. And BYU is really good on special teams. They have the 4th highest PFF grade in the country on special teams. West Virginia, not so much. So you've got to stop. I mentioned earlier, not beating yourself as a key. Well, in the position battles, your special teams has got to help you out some. Can they make a big play? Can they block a punt? Can they block a field goal? Can they return a kick or a punt for a touchdown? Something, right? And can you kick the ball into the freaking end zone, please? I mean, when did we have a kicker who can kick it into the end zone on a consistent basis? I can't remember the last time we did.
I can't either. That was something I got so mad last year about and previous years, because Neal just it felt like he was refusing to kick it in the end zone. He always wanted to try to corner kick it. And
I think Coach Rod's trying to, but the guys aren't doing it. I don't know. Maybe he's not, and he just doesn't want to talk about that. But it looks to me like they're just not getting it there, and they're just not executing the kicks. And then they're giving up kick returns. They're losing the field position battle because they're giving up big kick returns. It's just and Oliver Straw, he had one bad kick last game, but for the most part, he's done a pretty decent job. But in other areas of special teams, man, mainly in the coverage units and kickoffs, they have struggled. They've got to do a better job with that. And I think that's going to be a key in this game. You cannot lose. you need to at least hold your. You don't necessarily have to win a special teams, but you at least need to hold your own in it, and don't let BYU dominate the field position battle.
That was not something I had written down. However, where the offense is starting is something that the me and the other guys I do the Cold Country podcast with have talked about. It always feels like we're starting a drive backed up into our own territory, whereas against Kansas, especially in Ohio, they were getting the ball midfield almost every drive, and we were just hurting ourselves. And so, yeah, that was not one I had written down, but I do like that when it feels like you're going to have to win. You're going to need some form of explosive play to try to win this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The second one I have, which is almost a cop out as well because it's been the point of topic for 5 games, but it's the O-line versus BYU's front seven, and more particularly BYU's linebackers. BYU has 2 of the best linebackers in the country in Jack Kelly and Isaiah Glasker. Jack Kelly has 19 total tackles and 4 sacks on the year, and Isaiah Glasker has 17 total tackles, 2 sacks, and a pick on the year. They are incredible at getting pressure on the quarterback, and we know how much our offensive line has struggled.
Mm-hmm.
So, can they give either Khalil or Henderson or maybe even Max Brown or Scotty some time to throw the ball? Can they hold up in the run game and at least, give a little bit of a boost to the run game? I know we finally saw some different personnel against Utah. You saw Malik Agbo, you saw Haslam in there. I think Isosa got a couple of snaps, and then Carson Lee's been getting snaps with Livingston injured. Can they hold up against that front seven that has an incredible linebacker core?
Yeah. I mean, this is the first time I guess that we've actually had the exact same answer because West Virginia's O-line. I mean, it's kind of I feel bad even putting it down because I think I've said it on every show. And I feel like it's the easy answer, the obvious answer, but I mean, it's key, man. West Virginia has, we've talked about starting fast, Tyler. We've talked about success on first down and third down, right? It all plays hand in hand. How do you do that, man? You run the football well and run it well. How do you run the football well? A, you have a running back that's healthy, hopefully, and B, you have a good O line that's giving you some room to run, and that's going to be critical in this game. And the passing piece of it as well. BYU, 35th in the country in pass coverage grade at 87.3, which is really good. May not have a ton of opportunities to throw the football down the field if they're covering your guys like that. So you've got to run the football to open up that pass game, to give people like Cam Vaughn an opportunity. So in order to do that, again, the O-line has got to step up and play better this week. I like the fact that Rich Roth talked about, playing Haslam and Isosa and those and Agbo and those guys again potentially this week. I thought they showed a little bit. They didn't play great necessarily, but they played. I thought they were solid. I saw some good things out of them, and I felt like they outperformed the guys that they came in for. To be quite honest with you, and then Carson Lee had a pretty decent game, especially in the pass blocking side. So if he even if Landon Livingston's back, do you slide Carson Lee over and put him at one of the guard spots and give him some snaps there? But whoever's in the game, they've got to perform well against this talented BYU front. So I agree with that one. That's one we both agree on there. And again, I guess it's kind of a Captain Obvious answer, but it's absolutely critical. Absolutely critical. Games are won in the trenches, man. I mean, we saw that with Utah last week. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next segment, which is the one key Mountaineer. This is one I always have the most trouble with. One key Mountaineer that West Virginia needs to play well in order for them to win the game. What you got?
I did have some trouble with this one too because I feel like the obvious answer is, quarterback or running back. Can you find some success either throwing the ball or running the ball? But I went with Malik Agbo as my key player. He only graded out on PFF. I know you like to use a lot of the PFF grades. He only graded out slightly above average at 64.5, but slightly above average is better than what we've been getting through 5 games.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say.
So can he give the offensive line a little bit of spark, rally the troops a little bit to provide some, some momentum with the O-line? I know he was partially responsible for that block that led to Jared Bowie's 68-yard run. So he's an athletic and fast guy. I know Rich Rod said he's a little bit of a smaller offensive lineman, but I thought he played well against Utah. And I think that if you're going to play well in game, you deserve a shot. And especially with how our offensive line has been playing, I'm going to go with Malik Agbo if he can, provide a little bit of a spark for that offensive line that's been struggling up to this point.
I like it. I was torn here. I was originally going to say running back, but I don't even know who that's going to be. So, I mean, how can I pick one player for that answer? Because we don't know if Ty Edwards is going to be back or not. But I kind of took a page out of your book. I actually picked Donovan Haslam, funny enough, because, Coach Rod has talked about how he's one of his biggest linemen. And he's talked many a time about how they're undersized up front. And I thought Donovan Haslam, again, his PFF grades weren't great. But I feel like if you can get more consistent play out of him as your biggest lineman, it opens up so many things for you, man. Like, more opportunities in the run game potentially. And he's a lineman that can play multiple positions, but I think they've had him playing guard for the most part. At least they did last week. But I put Donovan Haslam down. I hate to keep. I've kind of been bashing probably Chemo a little bit too much, but he has struggled. And if they can get a little bit more consistent and a little bit better play out of that right guard spot, as much as Rich Rod likes, because Rich Rod loves to run inside zone, so much. If they can get good, but you've got to have good guard play to do that, man. And so Donovan Haslam's key, in my opinion. Both guards are, but I put him specifically because I think he can maybe provide a little spark on the right side of the line, which has struggled a little bit. So yeah, I mean, you and I kind of we both had the right side of the offensive line in mind, I think, when we did this. So that's interesting. But all right, we got one more segment to go, and that is the score prediction. Before we do that, though, I do have one more shout out I need to do. So we'll be back in about 30 seconds or so. Hey, do me a favor. Go check out my good friends over at Appalachia Digital. If you need a brand new website for your small business, or if you're just looking to get found easier on Google, go check out appalachiadigital.com/Couz. These are the fine folks who designed my brand new website over at wvsportschat.com. They did a fantastic job. I love their work. I think you will too. So go check them out. appalachiadigital.com/Couz. Let them know Couz sent you. Thank you once again for being patient, letting us get through the housekeeping, and thanks again to Appalachia Digital for supporting the Golden Blue Breakdown Show, for supporting Couz's Corner, and for supporting what we're doing over at WVSportsChat.com, where you can find written content by myself, Jonathan Martin, Shauna Rose, James Gravely, and a few others over there at the website. So this is the fun part, the score prediction. Right now, DraftKings has West Virginia as a 19.5-point underdog in Provo on Friday night. What do you got, Tyler?
It's going to be tough. You know what? I mean, as much as I am a Mountaineer homer, you got to be realistic sometimes.
Yep.
And we have not shown anything positive on film the past 2 weeks. And the minimal positives that you have shown don't lead me to believe that you can win this type of game in that type of atmosphere. BYU's been floating around the 30 mark against their FBS opponents. So my score prediction is BYU wins 31-17. I'm thinking maybe 17 is probably a little generous, but maybe Khalil can get in there and like we've mentioned, provide a little bit of a spark for the offense. I've got a feeling that BYU will blow it open, and one of those touchdowns will be garbage time. But 31-17 BYU feels about where it's been or where it's going to be.
Maybe I should have went first because that's the exact prediction I was going to give. Now everybody's going to think I just copied you. Thanks, Tyler. No, in all honesty, I think that's about right, because I honestly was thinking about going higher, but when I was interviewing the guest I had on from BYU, he talked about Kalani Sitake's not wanting to run a score up on people. So I got a feeling if it starts getting out of hand, I don't want to say call the dogs off, but he probably, he'll do things to try to, run clock, things like that. Just a hunch. Because that's just the type of guy he is, and I honestly think that's kind of plays into how they play anyway. They're not a they usually win games close and ugly anyway. They're not a blow you out type of team typically. Not that they can't do it. I just don't think that's out their style of football. But point being, I think that 30 mark is about right for them. I don't think they'll get into the 40s like Kansas and Utah did just because of their style. And then I do think West Virginia's. I think we'll see some improvement this week on offense. But I mean, improvement from what we've been seeing is 17 points. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And just moving the ball and getting some first downs for crying out loud. But so yeah, I think 31-17 is pretty much where I'm landing too. So what's that? A 14 point. So I do think that is covering. So golly, they haven't covered a spread in 2 weeks.
That's true.
Maybe I'm being brave here, but anyway. Yeah, I'm sticking with it. 31-17 is where I'm going with my score prediction. So we got the same score prediction on that, Tyler.
We did. I'll ask you a question. Is it a
Mhm.
winnable game? It's Big 12 play.
I think every game's winnable. I think every game's winnable. I really do because I didn't think Pitt. To be frank, I didn't think we was going to beat Pitt, but I didn't see
didn't either.
I didn't see Ty Edwards coming. If he's healthy, I think it could potentially change this. And if he's 100% healthy, I think it could potentially change the direction of this football game. I think he's that good. When I was looking at the PFF grades preparing for this show, Pitt is one of the best teams in the country in run defense, in tackling, all the things that you thought would be a winning formula to beat West Virginia. But lo and behold, here come Ty Edwards. Now, maybe that's because Pitt wasn't prepared for Ty Edwards. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Whereas BYU probably will be. So maybe he can't catch him by surprise. But I'm giving you a long-winded answer. But anything can happen in college football, man, on any given day. So yes, I do think the game's winnable. BYU could come out and have a bad game. They could suffer. Maybe Bear Bach. I hope this doesn't happen, but one of their best players could get hurt, or maybe Khalil Wilkins comes out and just ends up being an absolute stupor. I mean, so many different things can happen that could change it. Maybe the defense gets you a pick six and you get a kick return for a touchdown. Or football's just such a crazy sport. I think every game's winnable, but it's going to take darn near the perfect football game, and you're going to have some things bounce your way to win it.
That's what I was thinking. You mentioned earlier the margin for error is very slim. If you want to win it, you're going to have to play pretty much perfect, especially when you consider the atmosphere, the time, the road trip. You're going to need a good game. And I agree. You're probably going to need Ty Edwards if you're going to come out of this game with a win.
I will say, though, I liked what Dior Hubbard showed us a little bit there on last past Saturday. Speaking of that, did you know that West Virginia, and I heard this today, I hope I'm right on this because I'm going off of memory, but I think West Virginia is second in the Big 12 in rushing. Did you hear that? Yes.
Really?
But in all fairness, they run the ball how many times a game? I mean, to be fair, they probably run the ball more than anybody else. I haven't looked at the attempts, but they are second in rushing. Yeah.
I did not know that. When you think about the tendencies of the offense, it does make sense. But when you think about how the running game and the offensive line has struggled, it also doesn't make sense. So a little bit of a paradox there.
Right, it was a paradox. I was shocked to hear it myself. I was actually going to pull it up as we were talking here, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to. But anyway, yeah, I thought that was an interesting stat today, for sure. All right, do you have one more time? Go ahead and plug your stuff.
Yeah, my name is Tyler Cobb. I do a podcast with two other guys called the Cold Country Podcast over on YouTube, and then we also have it on Spotify. Follow us on X. We're pretty active on X, Cold Country WVU. Like I said, Couz, I appreciate you having me on. I love talking West Virginia football, and I thought we had some good points and the same prediction, so I guess we're on the same page.
Yep. And I did find those stats as you were talking. West Virginia is actually fourth in the Big 12 in rushing with 1,081 yards. They're only 2 yards behind Arizona State for third place. But they are first in attempts. So You gotta, there's always context, right? There's
Yep.
always context. Now, I tell you what, they're not last in yards per rush though. They're averaging 4.7 yards a carry, which is better than you'd expect. But that still puts them in the bottom half of the league. So it's not great. So anyway,
Ebbs
all
and
right.
flows of the offense.
What's that?
Ebbs and flows of the offense.
Yeah. Yep. But I'm not sure where the second rushing came from, but maybe I misunderstood somebody. But they're actually fourth, and they've also played one more game than several other teams in the Big 12 too. So, got to take that into account. But anyway, just a little nugget of information I thought was interesting. Well, listen, thanks again for being a guest host this week, Tyler. Man, we'll have to collaborate again sometime in the future. I
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I appreciate everybody tuning into the show. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button if you're watching on YouTube. I'm now less than 100 away from 10,000 subscribers. So please help me get to 10,000. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Please share it with your family and friends who like West Virginia Mountaineer sports. If you're listening on podcast, on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast, please drop us a 5-star review. Please follow us at Couz's Corner. That's where we're at over there. And do the same, please, for Cole or for Tyler and the Cold Country Podcast guys as well. We thank you for tuning in. Thanks for joining the show. Or thanks for listening to the show. And thanks to Tyler for joining the show. I hope the rest of your day is top shelf. God bless you. And Q Country Roads. West Virginia.